Hi, it's Tanya and today I'm gonna do my July wrap-up. I read 12 books in July, I believe, so I'm not gonna talk about all of them in detail. I'm just gonna give you all my ratings and then talk about some of the books. First I read Nimettömät by Anni Mustonen, which is a first book in a historical fiction series. I don't think this has been translated into English. I knew I was gonna enjoy it because I have read another series by Anni Mustonen and I love it. I gave this one 4 stars. Then I read Persuasion by Jane Austen. I also really enjoyed it. I have liked books I have read by Jane Austen before, so I knew I was gonna like this one too. I gave this also 4 stars. Then I read My Shit Therapist by Michelle Thomas. I gave this 3.5 stars. This was really interesting and I could relate to some of the things, but in the end I can't remember much from this book. And yesterday I finished Järjestyksiä by Riina Mattila. This is a Finnish young adult book. I don't think this has been translated either. It's about a non-binary person who falls in love with a girl and how their family deals with that and all that stuff. It was nice, but the story wasn't really anything special, so I gave this 3.5 stars, maybe 4 stars. Then we get to the books that I'm gonna talk about a bit more. First I have With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. I listened to the audiobook and because I have read Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo before, I thought this was gonna be written in verse 2. So that threw me off a bit because I started to listen to it and it didn't sound like it was written in verse, so it was all kind of weird. But then I realized that it was actually prose. Overall, I really liked the story, but it was a bit boring. I think it was just dragging on too long, maybe, I don't know. It could have been a bit shorter. I liked the cooking aspect, like all the food stuff, it was really nice. And I liked the little recipes they had on the book. The characters weren't really anything that I connected with. I liked the main character whose name I forgot, Emani, something like that. And her grandma was interesting character, but everyone else was just meh. I didn't really care for them and some of them were really annoying. There was also this girl hate going on that I felt like was really unnecessary. It was a good book, but not my favorite. Then I read City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Oh boy, this was not for me. I had high hopes because everyone seems to love this, but I don't understand why. The whole Shadowhunter thing seems interesting to me, and I like the idea of Shadowhunters and like that whole world that is going on. But that's the only thing that I liked in this book. The characters weren't anything special. I feel like I've seen these characters 100 times before. My bunny is making noise in the background. Great. Ignore that. There was nothing new in the characters for me because it was like they were pulled from different books and just placed here. I was actually saying to someone when I was reading this that it felt like it was some sort of fanfiction because of the characters, and later on I heard about the allegations about this actually being originally fanfiction and also about how apparently she stole stuff from other books. I don't know about that, but this wasn't for me. And I know a lot of people say that you should read more because some other books are better because there are like 100 books in this fucking series, but I don't think so. Then I read Ihana Meri by Kira Poutanen. This hasn't been translated into English, but I could find translations in Hungarian, Latvian and I think Danish. This is about a teenage girl who has anorexia. This is basically the story how she develops it and all the stuff. I liked how it was portrayed, how it like sneaks into your life and takes over everything, but I wasn't a fan of the writing style. This was written in spoken Finnish instead of like the more formal way. It works with YA sometimes, but I'm still not a huge fan of it. Also, the friendships in this book are horrible. The main character doesn't have any good friends. There are so many scenes with her classmates and all that stuff, and they are just super annoying and I don't like any of them. It also seemed like her relationship with her family is not great. There wasn't any other character in this book besides the main character who we should be rooting for, I guess. I gave this 2.5 stars. Then I read the whole Hunger Games trilogy. I gave the first part 4.5 stars and the next 2 parts 3.5 or 4 stars, somewhere in between. I've seen the movies when they came out and I liked them, but the world wasn't something that I was that interested in, so I never read the books. I really enjoyed the books because They made the story feel more alive. I really liked the first book especially because it was like introducing the whole Hunger Games thing, and the next parts were nice too, but I didn't like them as much. Especially the last book seemed a bit rushed in my opinion. There was just a lot happening, but overall I thoroughly enjoyed these books and now I just want to watch the movies again. Then I read a book by Linus Jonkman. I believe the English title is Introvert, the Friendly Takeover. The basic point of this book is good. It says that there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, it's fine, it's not weird. And there are some good points that the author makes about introversion and extroversion. I'm sure some people can relate to the stuff that is going on in this book, but I couldn't. The generalization of introverts was just too much for me. I get that it's hard to talk about a group of people as collective when the group is so big, but some of the points that he made didn't really have anything to do with introversion. Basically, the simplest way to put this is if you like to be alone and need time to be alone, you're probably an introvert. If you need people around you and you get your energy through that, then you're probably an extrovert. I don't think the author always got that. There were really odd things like if he doesn't look you in the eyes or he can't concentrate on tasks, he's probably this or that. And those don't have anything to do with the introversion extroversion thing. Also, one major problem I had with this was how he was talking about extroverts. He painted them these really annoying people who don't really think about their actions, which is not true. In a world where you are supposed to be really extroverted and really social, this book is trying to tell that it's okay to be an introvert, but at the same time it's basically saying that it's not that great to be an extrovert because you are all these negative traits, which I don't think is true. There are some good points like from both sides in this book, but it's just really one-sided conversation, which I understand because the author is an introvert, so obviously he's gonna talk about his experiences, but I couldn't identify with even half of what he was saying. Things that I could actually identify with had more to do with my anxiety, social anxiety, shyness, and being a highly sensitive person. Obviously those things can be linked to introversion, but they're not the same thing. So yeah, I gave this 2 stars because it had good points, but overall it's just not that great portrayal of introversion and like introverted traits, I guess. The last book I'm gonna talk about is Jäniksen vuosi by Arto Paasilinna. I think the English title is The Year of the Hare. I really like this book, I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a Finnish classic about a guy who ends up finding a rabbit and becomes friends with it. Maybe it's my inner crazy bunny lady speaking, but I love this story. I thought it was really sweet and funny. Paasilinna writes like humorous satire type of stuff, so this isn't like dark in any ways, even though there's like a priest who is trying to gun down the rabbit and a bear chasing people, but you know, basic Finnish stuff. I really loved the friendship that the main character and the rabbit had. Somehow I found it just really cute. My camera keeps overheating, so I'm just gonna stop right here. I didn't read any 5-star reads this month, and I think there were like 3 books that I gave 2 stars, so it could have been a better reading month, but hopefully August will be better. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you next time. Moi moi!